Three. Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Porky here. You know, don't you? You know, because that's why you've tuned in. Today, I'm joined by my good friend Rico and founder with me, co-founder of Porky's Corner. But before I introduce you to Rico, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's joined the members area. It's not hard to do. People keep asking in text messages on the channel, oh, how do you do it? How do you do it? It isn't that hard. You just press the button below and it says join. It's next to the likes. You've got one thumb like that and one like that. And it's the bit that says join on your computers, not your phones. All right. How are you doing, Rico?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, mate. I mean, we had some boxing this weekend, which is always positive.
What did you think? What did you think to it, Rico? The boxing at the weekend?
Oh, you know what? I was really happy for Lawrence Okoli. I've always been critical about his style, but he's clearly improved a lot. He beat a legit opponent.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll keep on fighting at that weight for a while. And, you know, it's just good to be excited about British boxer that's doing well in a weight class that is competitive. And he's done it the right way, as you always talk about levels, right? He's gone British, he's gone Commonwealth, he's gone European, and now he's fought at the world level.
He's done everything. I can't really hammer him. He's had 16 fights, 13 by KO.
Yeah, and he's using all the advantages he has. But you know what? He wasn't grabbing as much as he used to. His footwork has improved. I thought he was sharp with the jab as well. You know, Glowacki he just couldn't figure him out, could he?
He couldn't, mate. Do you think that Glowacki, people are getting carried away with the win because he's been out of action nearly 2 years, hasn't he? And he's knocking on a bit now, isn't he? Mid to late 30s.
Yeah, but he can only fight who's in front of you for vacant title. So, I mean, this is a good sign, right? He didn't struggle against the guy that's in the top 5 in the division. Glowacki lost to Bradis with this weird decision where the stoppage, you know, that awkward stoppage in Latvia, and then the WBO ordered for him to fight for the world title. So that's not Coley's fault.
Yeah, and do you know what? I quite like the fight because we haven't really been treated that well off Lawrence Okoli, have we? Every time it looks like he's run out of ideas, he's held and mauled his way through, and it's not been very pleasant to watch. And I've been very, very critical of him, but the actual fight, I was quite impressed. But like I've just said, how people getting carried away.
I mean, it's easy to get carried away, but there hasn't been a lot of good news recently, has there? And actually, if you think about Coley, he's one of those guys that he doesn't run his mouth on social media. He's not constantly doing interviews. He's improved his game. He's changed trainers. He's improved his game. He's taken the criticism and he's just kept on doing what he's doing. He's only 28, which is young for cruiserweight. He'll probably end up moving to heavyweight and we'll probably get a few good years out of him.
Yeah.
Will he be something like Davis Hay that will hold the title, unify and hold the title? Maybe not, but you know, he hasn't put a foot wrong in his pro career to this stage.
Yeah. Shane McGuigan, he's had David A, Carl Frampton. David A got knocked out. Carl Frampton left him. George Groves got knocked out. He's ended up with Josh Taylor. Who was the other guy he had?
George Groves. Yeah,
George Groves. There was another one, wasn't there? He's had a lot dropped on his lap. Do you feel his body of work is... Sorry. It isn't what it should be, sorry. Do you feel that the jury is still out on Shane McGuigan because he's not built anything? Whereas if you look at somebody like Joe Gallagher, he's... How can I explain it? Joe Gallagher has had... he's had champion after champion for year after year, hasn't it? And whereas somebody like Shane, he's 32, he's 20 years younger than Joe. Do you feel that people are getting a little bit carried away with this? Because Coley was ex-Olympian, and what status were Coley when he went to Shane? Were a European champion?
Yeah.
So he's already a world-ranked guy, or we're a British champion.
Yeah, I think we have to give credit for Shane improving Coley. But, you know, I think about Anthony Fowler, Chris Billum-Smith, these guys. If he takes Anthony Fowler to a world title,
Yeah.
That's not at the same level when Joe took Crawler, but it's not far off, right? You need to take a guy that nobody fancies.
Give him a pat on back for that, won't we?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's done all he can with the fighters they're given to, but not every trainer is in a position where they get given fighters. I mean, he got given fighters because of his dad.
Yeah.
He's made the most out of those. I mean, we saw Frampton box his best under Shane McGuigan.
Yeah.
Frampton didn't start his career with Shane McGuigan anyways, but still. He's got a lot of talented fighters he's been given, but he's done well for those. But I do think every fighter needs that one fighter every trainer needs that one fighter that they take from literally from nothing to world champion. And he doesn't have that. But it's all about hype with trainers, isn't it? It's all about who's the flavor of the month now, whether it's Adam Booth, Shane McGuigan, Joe Gallagher, because he's been around for a long time. People probably don't give him the credit he deserves. People are quite fickle and people have short memories. I
didn't know until this morning that Joe Gallagher's the only guy in over 100 years, the Ring magazine from England, that's won Ring Trainer of the Year. I didn't know that. I thought there were one more, but there isn't. So.
Well, there was a period where Joe Gallagher had all the best fighters in Britain, and those are all guys that he took, guys that weren't the most fancied, weren't ex-Olympians.
Yeah.
He did a great job with them, and he keeps on doing it. So with someone like Joe Gallagher, when the next stable of fighters comes to him, I'm still sure that he'll do a good job for them because he's proven that time and time again, where Shane might be more reliant on being given good fighters.
Do you feel Ben Davison's had a lot of fighters dropped on his lap?
Yeah, but he's an MTK trainer, right? So
a young kid, though, isn't he?
Pardon?
Young kid, though, isn't he, really?
Yeah, but I mean, with Ben Davidson, I'd say, how much do you think he's telling Josh Taylor or Tyson Fury what to do versus how much are they telling him what to do?
No. I don't know about Ben Davison, but I've heard Tyson, tails wagging dog with Tyson when he was with Ben. Tyson did what he wants. He never did what he wanted when Peter had him. But Peter only had him for 8 fights, though, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, with Peter, again, some fighters, they get to a stage where they start and they just don't like the discipline. I don't think Peter would have ever changed the way how he trains Tyson or treat him whether he had a world title or not. And sometimes some fighters don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Peter's proven, isn't it? Peter's proven. Like, would you rather give a kid that's a novice to Ben Davidson or Peter?
No.
You don't need to answer that question because we both know the answer. I mean, Peter's proven, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 world champions.
Yeah, look what he's done with his own son.
Yeah, it should be free because he beat Parker, didn't he?
Yeah, and it's still a young heavyweight, right?
26. All right, then. I want to speak about Eddie Hills, the 4-0 Iceman from Billy Ricky. Free by way of. You've probably heard about him on an aeroplane pretending to be an air steward, haven't you? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't heard this one. Give me this story.
You've not heard this one, Rico? I tell you what.
No, I try not to watch too much IFL or anything else because it's the same stuff. It's the same spin.
Well, what day are we on it? Wait, we're on 24th. So we've done 7 videos for members now. Well, there should be a 7th one out tomorrow because I've already done it. Right, so I've got a week to do 3, so we'll put this out on YouTube on normal one, but they've already had over 20 on that, so we're ahead of schedule. I'm going to put this out tonight, right? Look at this video that somebody just sent me. I'm not going to say who sent me because he's got a board license. So a look. So here we go. Are you ready?
Let's go for it.
Oh, hang on. Let me just send this to another account because I'm going to have to put a screenshot on and I don't want it to show his face because people can cause problems, can't they, on social media? You know about people reporting me for copyright, Rico, and they can't even take a strike off me. YouTube got in touch with me today. And they explained how many seconds you can have a song on and all that. And I didn't know all this. We're learning on job, aren't we? But keep it up. Still got me 3 strikes. And you know what's amazing is There's a button that we press on videos and it says certificate 18, not for kids. We press that on every single video. It's not rocket science. We're here for the long haul. Right, you ready for this, Reeks?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Right, this has been sent to me. It's on Twitter, so I hope it pops up. So I'm not on Twitter, so we'll look. Oh, it looks like we might be lucky. Watch this. This is Eddie Hills.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly be starting our descent into Gibraltar Airport. We'd like to thank you for travelling Matrim Air today, but on a serious note, we will be landing in approximately 20 minutes. Thank you to the fighters that are here, that stay dedicated to the sport of boxing. We've tried to give you the opportunities during this pandemic. And what a trip we're on here this week. We're in Gibraltar. Let's have a great time. To the fighters, go and chase your dreams, enjoy yourself. People making their professional debut this week, young Campbell Hatton, with his uncle in the corner, with his dad managing him. Special moments. Team Povetkin up there, looking to retain the world interim title. Great fight, Chris Congo against Dickinson. Fabio Wardley against Molina. Ted Cheeseman against JJ Metcalf. and Baker against Kamari. Stay safe, good health to you all. And go and make history this week in Gibraltar. Thank you all so much.
Well, you know, that plane obviously had only matchroom fighters with nobody's flying anywhere at this point. So, yeah, I mean, it's all to make noise and all to make it sort of...
Look at young Harley Marshall. Look, Harley Marshall just sent me that. You know, young Harley who comes on channel. Harley, yeah. If you're not fast, your last, mate, you're going to have to be quicker than that to get your Team Porky badge. Thinks he's just discovered it. It's been out hours, mate. No, it makes it about him. It looks like they've chartered a plane and thrown everybody on it, doesn't it? It's not rocket science. Can you imagine Eddie Hearn being let loose on a plane because they've paid for it? He feels like he can start grabbing things like that. Well, my cousin used to be an air hostess, and let me tell you this, Dubai Airlines she used to work for. You can't just go and grab a thing like that, but he feels like he's in a sweet shop, Eddie, doesn't he? He just needs bringing down a peg or two, doesn't he? I would love to be padded up with him in a prison cell in Doncaster Prison, HMP Donkey Traz. I would love it. I'd say, Eddie, we've got one super noodles and one tin of tuna. I was sharing it. He'd be like, yeah. So, no, we're not. You're having note. No, honestly, mate, he's so annoying, Rico. He turns every situation into him because he's being given the platform, isn't he?
Well, he wants to be Dana White. Let's be clear about that. He wants to be Dana White, who is the face of UFC, and he's the biggest name of UFC. And what happened in UFC, I don't follow it that much, but when Conor McGregor became a bigger star than Dana White got a bit upset.
Yeah.
And that's how he treats British boxing, right? Nobody should be a bigger star than him. He tries it with Joshua, doesn't he? He tries to be like, you know, I'm doing this for Joshua, and then Joshua has to slap him down a peg or two.
Yeah, it's... I don't know what to make of it all, mate, to be honest. But what do you think about Dylan White, the can man? Anybody who wants it can get it, maximum violence and all that. Fighting Povetkin, 42 in summer. He's already fought him before, been iced by him. Do you think he can get iced again by Povetkin?
I mean, of course he can. One of the things I'm worried about with Dylan is his punch resistance might have gone. Yeah. I seriously think his punch resistance might have gone. He's taken a lot of heavy shots. Yeah. But I still think Dylan White's going to win because he's not going to lose on points. And Povetkin's 42. I mean, Dylan's better at this stage of his career.
Yeah.
Should it be pay-per-view? No. I mean, it might be one of the worst pay-per-view cards ever. You've got Ted Cheeseman against JJ Metcalf as chief of support for the British title.
Yeah.
How is that pay-per-view chief support?
That's not a bad fight, is it, Cheeseman Metcalf, is it?
It's not a bad fight, but it's not pay-per-view chief support either.
The card's not as good as the Chisora Parker one, is it?
No, and even like Congo against, you know, Mikey the Problem isn't a bad fight in isolation. You know, those are decent fights. Then the rest of the card's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And Wardley against Molina, yeah, that's sort of intriguing, but not particularly intriguing. But it's not a pay-per-view card.
Yeah.
You know, we're having non-world title fights as pay-per-view cards.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
Who's allowing all this to happen? Do you feel that Ed Robinson should get... do you feel he should have to answer to some of this? Do you feel somebody should come out at Sky and say, look, we're the people that sign off on these fights? Because they keep saying there's transparency, but they can't be, can they?
It's the whole Sky team, being Ed Robinson and everybody else. I mean, look, they probably have a budget that they need to claw back. So they don't necessarily care about the product that goes out there as long as people are buying it. But everybody probably knows it's not a good product. Yeah. It just isn't a good product, right? Mm. Even when you think about Bellew versus Nathan Cleverly too, the undercard for that was pretty stacked. Whereas now we're having poor main events as pay-per-view fights.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to switch off from boxing, aren't they? It's everything costs money these days. Like you can't watch boxing without paying money, lots of money.
Can't make videos without paying lots of money to production people and stuff like that. No, it's cheap, is it nowadays?
No, but look, it's a choice, right? You're still giving something for free, aren't you? Mm-hmm. You have a free channel, you have a paid side, which is
it's not extra
to give extra content, and then also to pay for production costs and everything else. Yeah. Whereas what they're doing is they just take. It's like a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's like they try and get as much money from the fans as possible until the boxing bubble bursts.
Do you think that's what Hearn's done with this DAZN and things like that? Do you think they're just rinsing it as much as they can because they know it isn't forever? Because they've been around in game years, haven't they? They know boxing, don't they?
Yeah, and they've come out of the game, haven't they?
They've come out years ago.
They've come out, they've come in, they just follow the economic cycles of boxing, don't they? When there's a chance to make money in boxing, that's when they come in, and when the money dries up, they come out, and somebody else will invest in it.
I remember him diving back in with years ago. I remember Barry Hearn doing an interview. We were big in Tony Dodson. You know Tony Warrior Dodson?
Yeah, the Scouser.
They had him, and they were going to do this and going to do that with him. And look what happened there. Frotch smashed him up, didn't he? Mm-hmm. I was there ringside, mate. There were a riot in the arena. Loads of Scousers throwing chairs all over at Cobra fans. But yeah. Okay, then.
What do you make of this card?
The Dillian White card?
Yeah.
We've got Fabio Wardley against Eric Molina's chief support. Come on.
I think it's low in the card, but it might be.
Is it? What's chief support then?
I think it's that Cheeseman against Metcalf.
Cheeseman. Sorry, Cheeseman, Metcalf. Then you've got Fabio Wardley, Molina, haven't you?
I think you've got Conga against Mikey
McKinson. Conga McKinnon. Is that McKinson or whatever it's called? Is that below that? Well, it depends if they come out in that order. Then on BoxRec, it's not always a true.
True.
They don't always stick to that order, do they? But I think it's a good Saturday night non-pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's not a pay-per-view fight at all. Dylan White's 32. He's never fought for a European. Povetkin, is he a decade away from being a world champion? And that were a regular belt, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's over a decade, isn't it?
He's 42 in summer. He's been bashed up by... who bashed him up? Joshua bashed him up. Who the other one who beat him?
Klitschko bashed him up, didn't he?
He's been knocked
him down like 6 times, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's just knocked out Dylan White. And Dylan White's telling us he's the can man and maximum violence and all that. He got put to kip. Ice baby. Do you know what I mean? That should be end of conversation, Rico. That should be the end of the conversation. But it isn't, is it?
Dillian White missed the belt. He didn't take the fights when they were there because he wasn't willing to take less money.
Yeah.
But you know what causes this? Inflation in purses. So if you know you can make 2 million by fighting somebody easy or 6 million by taking a big risk, you're just going to take the 2 million, aren't you?
You're going to take the twos.
I don't blame boxers. I just blame boxing.
Yeah. Which brings me to, I had an email off a kid called James, and he was saying to me, why do we all act so shocked, and why do the pundits? And and Eddie Hearn and everybody acts so shocked when a Sky headliner gets knocked out. They all act shocked, but yet beforehand they're selling the fight as a 50-50 and, ooh, I just don't know. And I've got a squeaky bum here, Adam. Yeah, I have, Matt. We just don't know. And then when somebody gets knocked out, it's all shock, horror. But yeah, why don't they go back on what they said leading up to the fight to sell it, that it's a 50-50? And when we have a knockout, and like Warrington, they were all saying they were shocked at that. Well, why were they? They told us it was a 50-50 fight, didn't they? They told us
they said it was competitive. Then they said that Lara didn't look good. And then suddenly, after he was doing well, he was throwing hard punches, and he's an unknown Mexican, which doesn't mean anything. But it's all sort of, it's always just building. It's always just trying to hoodwink the fans. That's the problem in boxing. It's like, you know, if you're watching football on Sky, and they were telling you when Man City is playing against Burnley that this is a very close match, and, you know, Burnley have a very good chance and so forth, you just think these guys don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But the punditry is not geared towards people like us that watch this channel, or you and I. It's geared towards the person that switches on to the boxing and watches the fight and thinks that every fight's great and, you know, wants to invest in the characters.
Yeah. Well, that's how I look at it. And I think that it's got to change this backtracking and this. I was speaking to somebody today and they said they don't want to know if a certain fighter goes camping, when Adam Smith's going on about, oh, this guy goes camping in lakes and does this and all that. What's that got to do with boxing? Why can't you just say he used to knock a bit of weed out of him and pop a few pills on a weekend with his pals when he was young and he turned his life around, instead of, oh, he's a great guy, he goes camping, Matt, in the lakes. I don't want to hear that.
I think we all know when we're seeing a good fight, right? When there was Lomachenko against Teofimo Lopez, everybody just said genuinely, that's a good fight. You don't need to sell a good fight. And
2 seconds, let me just sort Reggie out. Reggie! Reggie, I'm filming. Got a house full of dossers. Go on, sorry about that, mate.
No worries.
People visiting house full of dossers, mate. Old Denby clan here. Old Terry
Well, we
Harper
don't need
clan.
to be.
Hey?
Terry Harper, no fish and chip shop.
We've got a house full of Denby. The house of Denby, oh my God. Just make sure that jury's in safe before they go. No, I just feel that I don't want to hear any more of these narratives. I just want to see fights. That's all I want to see. But I've had a text today of somebody. Let me read this out. I'm not going to say who this is. But Josh Warrington's going to be on pay-per-view. 20 quid.
Is he? Against Lara.
Rematch against Lara at Headingley, 20 quid.
It's the race to the bottom, isn't it? It's just literally the race to, like, let's try and get as much money out as we can.
Before Sky get rid of Eddie Hills.
Before they get rid of boxing. Well,
do you remember when I said to you a few weeks ago that they were going to do 6 pay-per-views over 6 months, and you went, oh, you reckon that way? Well, it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, what was it, 5 a year before? He used to be 5 a year?
Averaged about 5 a year since Eddie's been there, and it, or 4 a year. He's been there 10 years.
5 usually, isn't it? 5. They might buy, because usually what they do is they buy one, so they'll buy like McGregor, Mayweather, or, you know.
They've had 40, haven't they, in his rate and in his era. In his era, they've had 40. I'm 39. I don't know. Dale Nichols will be able to tell you. He's the voice of pay-per-view. He's got all stats at home. He goes to bed at night. He doesn't dream of Pamela Anderson. He dreams of pay-per-view numbers. I call him Adolf now. Have you seen his quiff?
Yeah.
But moving on then from the adventures of Tintin, Daniel DeBar and Mark Tibbs, do you think it's a good matchup?
I think whatever Daniel feels comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's not, I always say this, it's not for me to tell who's a good trainer and who isn't, because fighters choose trainers for a reason. They do a trial period, but it means that Daniel doesn't need to leave London. I don't think there was necessarily anything wrong with Daniel before, what he was doing. It was just more a case that he probably just needs a change.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know what, maybe a change of environment is good for him. He's so young that he can still learn. He can still be involved, you know, he can still learn a lot. There's no point in changing your trainer in 10 years' time, is there?
No. What do you think, Rico, about the announcement and Frank Warren coming out today on IFL? Well, he's been out a couple of times and clarifying his remarks today and basically saying that they said there were not going to be no announcements, but Ern's come out and said there's an announcement to be made in 30 days or something. But there isn't anything to announce because it's the same chit-chat that were last June what Fury came out with, wasn't it?
You know what? Get the fight post out, get the date, get the venue, and then I'll believe the fight's happening.
What do you think about Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury in the Sun today on the Mark Summit story saying, I forgot his name, saying they've signed a £500 million two-fight deal now, $500 million. What do you think? You think it's just massive telephone numbers that they're throwing about open?
Well, if they don't have the venue for the fight, and they haven't agreed the rights fees, how do they know how big the fight is going to be? You know what I mean? It's like you're missing one of the biggest components of what makes the value of the fight.
Yeah.
Because if it's not in the UK, right, you know how this works. In the UK, they would hire Wembley and they'd be selling the tickets out. In the Middle East or in Las Vegas, the venue would be paying to have the fight there.
Yeah.
And then also, depending on the time zone of the venue, that impacts pay-per-view sales here in the US. So all of that stuff needs to be taken into account. They haven't signed anything that says this is how much they're going to get. They might have signed that, okay, out at the pop, we'll take this much and this much pay-per-view upside each, and that's it. Like, it's not a real contract until there's real money.
Yeah, it's exciting times ahead, Matt. This is why we love this sport so much, Rumpelstiltskin. Okay, then.
You tell me, you're a boxing cynic like I am. So when did you actually start turning on this boxing stuff?
What do you mean? Me?
Like, you know, when did you start becoming critical and realizing that?
Very critical. I became very critical on Twitter. I think if you remember, I had about 20,000 subscribers. I became very critical when they messed Froch about with the Julio Cesar Chavez because they actually forked out money to try and get a visa. You know, and I thought, if this is going to be his last ever fight, I want to be there. And when I heard the story, and it'll all come out one day, that, you know, we all know that he had a deal left with Aram, didn't he, Chavez? And Froch had a bit of an elbow injury, but he wasn't that put the camp out. Hearn didn't want to budge on his money. Obviously, Carl didn't want to have agreed the money. Chavez didn't want to, and Aram's holding him to ransom over $1 million. So it sort of fizzled out. And I felt that it wasn't a nice ending for Froch, that, you know, halfway through a camp, you know what it takes out of him. He's explosive, isn't he? He's one of them that likes to, he don't believe, Froch never believed in having a camp and then just knocking somebody over in a couple of rounds. He wanted, if I'm having an hard camp, I want a proper fight. And that's how you get the most out of your career. And he wanted to excite fans. I remember him telling me, he said, I just want people to follow my lead. I want to be in hard fights and be known as a warrior and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know, I proper bought into it, didn't I, obviously. And I felt that he deserved a bit better than that. After bringing pay-per-view back, and I thought, and then there were a couple of incidents leading up to a couple of years before that. I remember seeing Eddie Earn up at Senchenko Brook presser at Sheffield, and just how he were. And I thought, you got everybody licking his arse, Poxon and Caldwell licking his arsehole. And every joke he told, everybody laughed and blah, blah, blah. And then he wants to have a chat to somebody and have a dig. You know, he was like, oh, so you're, you know, he just has that little, he's like a bully, isn't he? Well, like, and I thought, what? He's not, he wasn't for me.
Yeah.
For me, mate. People can say, Porky, you're hanging around Eddie Earn for free tickets. No. Eddie Earn offered me tickets. It was my birthday and I broke my leg. He gave me he gave me and my kid's mum 2 tickets for Brooks and Chenko, which were £1,300, which were nice. But let me tell you this, he also gave thousands of others tickets as well, Help for a Hero. So he wanted to like making a special case for me. And he sorted me tickets out for Frosh Groves, but I paid him. But the ones I got were loads better than what I paid for, so I can't knock him.
Yeah.
But they're only the ones that they didn't settle. You know what I mean? So, and they were comped ones, and they get all that Essex shower comp, towie lot, don't they? But no, and I just saw something in him, and I thought, you're a bully, you, mate. You're a bully. I don't like that. I don't like that behaviour. And like I said, he's a kid in a sweet shop, innit? But I do respect his work ethic. He's got a good work ethic. But I've got more respect for the father than him, although it's diminished a bit since with that Jeffrey Epstein thing. That's just my own opinion. Listen, I probably don't know him as much as other people, but I watch what he does and I watch his interviews and I think, how's he getting away with it? Because what's happened is, he's a very smart man, Idiot. All these people, you know, the media people, they're all pandering to him, aren't they? They're not going to go against him. Have you noticed how those who aren't on his side, you know, your Jeff Powells and them, you don't see them hanging about, do you?
No, and they don't get access to the fighters.
Don't get access, do they? You don't see Jeff Powell getting access.
Look at Mike Coppinger, right? How he's suddenly become a thing because he's pandered up to Eddie.
There you go. But if you don't play Eddie's game, you're not welcome in the media. I don't play the game, so he wasn't going to give me the airtime. I remember Umar asking him that question that I put forward on Twitter. Umar was that frightened. He didn't even read my name out on the interview, did he? Eddie went, who's it off? Oh, for him. No. Like, they were just dismissive, wasn't it? Because they're not going to give me airtime the cost of no. I'll drill them like the stubborn thing that's all gone quiet, isn't it? What about Eddie's? What else? What other rubbish we were chatting? Eddie's EA Sports, the boxing promoter computer game. All that's gone. Look, the guy's an utter shyster. He's a fraudster, mate. He's a fraudster, but people are allowing him to get away with it. The Board of Control, they're allowing it. The sanctioning bodies, they're definitely allowing it. All of them, not just one, all of them. The media, the YouTubers, and then you've got the old school media hacks, your Gareth A. Davises and all them now. I know certain people in the old school media who have plenty to say. And I've now started saying, well, don't tell me, tell him, or say it on your social media and tag him in. Oh, I can't do that. Well, what are you telling me for then? Are you giving me bullets to fire? Say it yourself.
See, the difference is these people get paid. Their income relies on boxing, and Eddie can turn the tap off. Because your income doesn't rely. Your income relies on your opinion, right? Like your boxing, well, my income from doing this channel. But anyways, like your credit.
I'm not in poorhouse, though. I'm a Rico, so I can sit on one corner.
No, but that's the thing, isn't it? You don't need access. You don't need.
It, and I don't think I could do it, Rico. I don't. When Neil Kettleborough offered me the boxing social job, I said, I don't think I can do that, Neil. We were all sat there having a curry, and I said, I don't think I can do it. Well, what do you mean? I went, I can't traipse up and down this country. I have other things to do. I'm not. You could say you Rob Tebbets and Cougars. They're more hardcore than me. Then if they want to traipse up and down the country, but they're supposed to be hardcore. But yeah, they're traipsing up and down the country, but they're basically employees for Edward Hills. They're employees because they can't go against the grain. They can't, mate. They can't, and they're all in funny predicaments. So they can't be themselves. Now, I've always been outspoken. That's why whenever I did prison, I always did it on basic regime, or I were always fighting system. Ombudsman, we're sick of it, prison ombudsman. But look, you have to do something that and have passion with it and do it for something you believe in. And you can't go through life letting everybody walk all over you. Now, these people, I call them the little people because they're spineless. Coogan is a really nice kid. I've met him several times. He's a hard worker and he knows where his bread's buttered. But he also knows that if Eddie Hearn turns around to him and says, you better ask Tyson Fury that question about him giving millions to charity. He knows he's in the middle then. Now, he did ask Tyson, didn't he? But Eddie was chipping away at him for a couple of weeks and he asked him half-heartedly, bump, Tyson nipped him in the bud, didn't he? That's when you get too close. You wouldn't have got Andy Scott being put in that situation, would you?
No.
That's where you become their tool. He's MTK's tool and Matchroom's tool, and he's in the middle. And when they have a big do or a fallout, he'll have to choose, won't he? I won't put myself in that situation. For example, I'll give Dennis Hobson his dues here. He never once told me what I can and can't do on this in this channel. Not once. Not once. I always did my own thing. He just said, look, you can't beat a bit of controversy. He always left me to my own devices. Apart from one time when he said, oh, you know what, you're sticking it to Charlie Giles for? I've got to go in front of the board now. And you haven't got a board license. Well, tell him no then. And he did. He got lawyers on it. But he went into bat for me. But I kept on, didn't I, at board, didn't I? And he was in a bit of a predicament, wasn't he? See where I'm coming from? But point I want to make is, they're not like me, are they? Your Rob Tebbett's, your Coogans, and Michelle Phelps. Well, what's she know about boxing? She's in America, isn't she?
Yeah.
And that Fido boxing and all that. You see how these people slink in, but they don't know not about the sport. But they're slinking and blah, 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 because everyone wants to give them one, don't they? But point I want to make is, Rob Tebbett and Coogan, they are what is wrong with YouTube boxing. They're what's wrong with it. And if I stick it to them, so what? Coogan can ring me anytime, Coogan. Ring me on this anytime you want, mate.
But I'd say they have a different role to you, right? Their role is to give fighters exposure, right?
That's it. They're doing it. They're giving 25 people exposure. What about the other 1,000?
Yeah, but what I'm also saying is they view and their business model is driven by the view of those fighters. So they're not catering to the whole of boxing, are they? They're catering to the people on TV, which is a very small segment of boxing, not to amateur clubs or others. Yours is more grassroots focused. I mean, there's tons of channels where you know, people just focus on what's happening on the Sky show.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about Terry's podcast, right? It uses the big events in boxing as an anchor point for wider discussions about boxing. It's not really geared towards hyping up this box or, you know, talking about this performance or that performance.
Yeah. Look, I'm very critical about people. I'm critical about people who I see who are behaving out of the ordinary. When I see people rimming people at Sky and Matchroom, I see it. And then people I know back, because I know some of them and I know people who tell me stuff, they're not really like that in real life. But when they're doing it on TV and they got no pride in yourselves, your Nelsons, your Coldwells, people like that, Macklin's, Bean, well, I don't know about Bean, but people like that, these are ex-fighters and that. Why do they have to carry off like that? I have a problem with that. Bellew, I mean, oh God, don't even get me started. Haven't these people got no pride? Do they feel that they have to go above and beyond to protect their little...
Well, everybody's too closely aligned, aren't they? So if you think about the football media, you don't have Roy Keane. You don't have Roy Keane, you know, hanging out with the managers from the teams after the games. And that's what happens in boxing. That's the big difference.
Do you get Mika Richards and Graham Souness and people like that going on Sky and then hanging out at back of Andy Gray and Richard, what's he called?
Well, that's years ago when those guys were there.
They're gone now, weren't they? Then, well, whoever it is now, the Sky football people, you're not going to get that, are you? Because they're going to.
But even they aren't necessarily mates, right? They're there to give their own opinions. It's not like Graham Souness and Roy Keane and Mika Richards are all mates, right? They're there to do a job, which is they're paid to give their opinion. They do the job and then they go home.
Yeah, that's it. Well, why can't the boxing people do that? Why do they have to? For example, I don't like to be critical about Jamie Moore, but let me just say this about Jamie Moore. Go and watch Jamie Moore commentating on Paul Smith versus Zuga. Paul Smith, he lost a lot of rounds, and we're getting late on in the fight, and he couldn't really say anything positive about Paul Smith. And he said, Paul Smith's saving it for later rounds. Well, Paul Smith got dropped in 12th, didn't he?
Yeah.
But Jamie Moore went into bat for his pal there. But why not just say, look, Paul Smith's having a shocker tonight. He's way past his best. He's been in with 6 world champions now. And I think he should be pulled out. Why couldn't he say that? Because everybody else said it in boxing industry.
Look what happens if you're honest in boxing. You end up like Teddy Atlas, right? You end up ostracized from boxing if you do that.
Or Clinton Woods and Robin Reed, because they won Koto when they worked at Sky.
Yeah.
Clinton Woods there as an expert analysis, like heavyweight world champion. He give his opinion. Well, you can't say that, Clinton. He's a so-and-so fighter. You've got to say this. Clinton says, here, that's got me here to give my opinion on a Sky show as a world champion boxer, an expert analysis. What do you want me to say? That he's pound for pound or whatever Clinton said? They never had him back, did they? But I don't think Clinton's bothered anyway. He's never comfortable doing that. But giving an honest opinion is what you're there for. But they're not. It proves that they're there to spin narratives and not tell the truth to the fans at home. I have a problem with that, mate. I have a massive problem with that. And I'll just continue doing what I'm doing.
But even your mate Bonds isn't any better than any of them, is he?
Yeah, you might be right. Lately, I've seen some things from Bonds, and going back on other interviews I've looked at him in the past, I've looked at him, and then lately, and I'm like, God, it's a bit... He's turning
Bonds knows more about boxing than anyone, right?
Anybody. I was reeling off some names to him. I thought, I've got Bunsey here. And I'm reeling off names to him, and he had an answer for everything. And he's a boxing historian. He's as good as Bob Mee. And I just feel that everybody's jostling for position. He's probably got bills to pay in that, but it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. We should be able to give our opinion on the sport of boxing, but we can't, can we?
Well, that's why you have to set up your own channels and things, right?
Like me, and be outspoken. What about Logan Paul then, Mayweather? Does it happen?
Probably, yeah. I mean, there's enough money for that. I have no problem with that happening, unlike many people in boxing. They doing it, they've got an audience for it, people pay for it. If you were in their position, why wouldn't you do it?
Hey, listen, mate, if I were in Bunce's position and they asked me an opinion in front of the TV cameras and it were going live, I'd just tell the truth, me. And if they didn't like it, lump it. I would not be bothered. I will not kowtow.
Oh, I thought you meant Logan Paul against Mayweather.
Oh, sorry. Logan Paul. See me short-term memory kicked in then. Logan Paul against Mayweather. I won't be paying for that.
I won't be paying for it, but a lot of people will. And Mayweather's done it. You know, he's done everything he can in boxing. You need to give him his dues. He doesn't owe anything to boxing fans, does he?
No, he don't, mate. He don't owe anything to boxing fans at all.
And if you think about how many boxers he's influenced in terms of the next generation, how many people trying to imitate what he's done to create, a character and everything else.
Yeah.
He created a blueprint of how boxers make money, and people are trying to imitate that. But, he's probably not the nicest of people.
Yeah.
Once went to a Mayweather event, my mate and I, we paid about 60 or 70 quid for one of these evenings with Mayweather at the O2.
Yeah.
Ben Safiran hosted it, and loads of people turned up and waited for 3 hours, and it was like 10:30 or something. And then Mayweather came up, and then he was taking photos with the people that paid like 200 quid to have a photo taken with him. That went on for another half an hour. So me and my mate, we just left. We just thought we're not going to be here until like 1 a.m. on a Tuesday. And then we complained to the organisers, and we obviously got our money back, but loads of people were in the same. And there were all these kids that were, their dads had bought them tickets to go and, 10, 12-year-old kids to come watch Mayweather. And he was there for 3 hours late, and you just thought, that's just disrespectful. So
Mayweather don't care about anybody, mate, except himself. If he lived in my area, I'd flog him, mate.
No, he doesn't. Well, you could try.
Hey?
You could try.
I'll try, yeah. All right, then.
Let's go back into Porky boxing stories. So, tell me about what got you interested in boxing initially.
Interested in boxing? The first boxing fight going back that I can remember was Hagler, Alan Minter. I'll never forget it. We watched it on a black and white telly, me and my brother, in my mum and dad's bedroom. It had been a month before my 10th birthday. Can of cola, salt and vinegar French fries and a Mars bar each, and we watched it. And I remember what he did to Minter. He cut him to shreds, didn't he? And they threw all beer on him, didn't they?
Yeah.
And he went first.
Wembley Arena, right?
Yeah, first time we didn't have a babysitter at the time because mum and dad were in boozer, in Greyhound. But I'll never forget it. And that's first fact that got me hooked. And then obviously you went through the Frank Bruno era. I remember watching Barry McGuigan and Fate Pedrosa. I'd been playing on football field at back of where I lived all afternoon. It was a Saturday. And then I'd come in, and there were nobody on the streets when he fought. There were me there, my granddad, my great uncle, my dad, my mum, and we all watched him. It was a QPR ground, and
Yeah.
it was like a big thing back then. 1985. 14-year-old. I'll never forget that. That were like, I think about 19, 20 million watched it when McGuigan. He was massive, Barney McGuigan. He was a superstar. I'll never forget that. And I were hooked after that. I was probably hooked after Agler fight. I followed Minter after that. I remember he got dusted by Tony Simpson, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I was hooked from then. And I always followed it, always followed the boxing, especially the British guys. Hooked. And obviously when Froch won his medal at World Championships and David A, I followed them. So, but I was hooked from the Hagler. So it's the one that sticks in my mind. I remember watching the Larry Holmes fights on a Saturday. Kev, who owns Trophy Auction Packaging, he lived up the road from me. I've known him since I was 6. And I used to go to his house on a Saturday. Well, they were a big footballing family, all professional footballers. And we'd always go in there. They'd always have grandstand on World of Sport and that. And I remember watching a Larry Holmes fight there when I think it was with a Witherspoon one. I remember watching that there, Larry Holmes and Witherspoon. And I've just always loved boxing, I suppose.
Do you think Larry Holmes never got his dues because he came after Ali?
Yeah, I think he beat Ali and nobody liked him, did they? And his record's second to none, isn't it?
It is, but there's not many good wins in there. Even Jerry Cooney was a bit washed up, wasn't he, when he fought him?
Jerry Cooney never won a world title, did he?
No.
It was sold on race, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Great White Hope, wasn't it?
That's what they'll do with Joshua Fury, they'll sell it on.
Well, I've said this many times. That's what they'll do.
Because there ain't anything they can sell it on, is there?
No, but I mean, yeah, they should be able to sell it. It's a great fight, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What got you into boxing, Rico? Into following it and stuff like that?
When I was younger, I used to watch all these like sports documentaries. I'm fascinated by Muhammad Ali because he was so, brash and cocky. And then you saw his fighting style. And then my brother and I used to like pretend to fight, and we'd both be like bouncing around and, throwing jabs and moving our head and trying to do the Ali shuffle. And then I came to the UK one summer and we're listening to radio, my cousin and I, Lennox Lewis against Hasim Rahman from South Africa.
Yeah.
And back then you'd listen to the radio and you'd be really into it, like you'd be sitting in silence, and then just sort of got into start following it, but not much. And then I moved here sort of for university, and that was just before the Super Six. And the Super Six was just such a good tournament because you had everybody facing against everyone. And I think the interesting part about that was that you actually had a structure. You knew who was going to face who next. I just started getting really into boxing. It was really the time when Eddie Hearn started coming out. So I'd watch him and putting his shows on Brentwood Leisure Centre with Eric the Eagle Ocheng headline against Beefy Smith, all those fights, and just got really into it. That's maybe 12, 13 years ago. But yeah.
Do you feel, Rico, that the Super Six, it never really, because they had injuries and the people behind it and involved, that they still had to mess it about, didn't they, and try and bend it and this and that and blah. Like Andre Ward, he never wanted to fight outside of America. They still had to push them boundaries, didn't they? They couldn't just accept all the rules.
Glenn Johnson into a tournament, isn't there?
Hey?
Didn't they bring Glenn Johnson into a tournament? So
Glenn Johnson into it and people like that. But do you feel that people should sign up to that and be told where they're going to fight? Because Durrell should have fought Ward, shouldn't he, in Detroit? Yeah. And Ward said, no, I'm not fighting in Detroit. I don't know.
It's World Boxing Super Series tried that, but the problem with boxing is there's so much. If you want to force people to do stuff, you have to pay so much extra money.
Yeah.
And it's not profitable. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But I think Super Six was a great concept, and it only worked because it didn't have many big promoters having their fighters in it. It's like you couldn't do that these days if you had a PBC fighter or, you had a top-ranked fighter. Like, they just don't fight against each other.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, that's what made Froch, isn't it? Super Six, because he had beaten Pascal at that point, but nobody was going to fight him. Nobody from the UK was going to put money behind him because that was a bit before Eddie Hearn came in. If it wasn't for that tournament, Froch would have been fighting against good opposition in obscurity. But
he beat Taylor, though, after Pascal.
Yeah, he did. But even then, he was away, right?
America, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he would have had to be fighting abroad all the time.
What do you think about the rumour doing rounds that Callum Sauerland's got Sky dates?
I wouldn't be surprised. That would make sense for Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, you think?
I mean, Chris Eubank Jr. is an anchor, so you can make him to headline the show and maybe get MTK fighters on the undercard.
Yeah. What do you think about Beefy Smith and Callum Smith? The word doing the rounds around the campfire is that Beefy's with Manny Robles and that Callum's going to follow him. What do you think to that? I think Joe Gallagher can count himself a little bit hard done by there.
I mean, absolutely. To be honest with Beefy, if he goes, it's a shame. Joe got him to a world title. Beefy's not really a commodity that is high, but I guess with Beefy, if he fights on Matchroom US cards in the US more, he'll probably get more fights, and that's part of the problem. With Callum Smith, you know, it's too late to try and change anything, and I don't think, you know, he always seemed happy with Joe, and they always seemed like they had a good team, but sadly, that's just boxing. It doesn't matter how much you invest in these people. And I always find it very sad that managers have 3-year contracts with fighters, but trainers don't have any contracts, and fighters use and abuse trainers.
Yeah. What do you think about Sam Jones putting his tongue up Eddie Hearn's hoop and not once has he put pressure on the WBO to get this WBO situation sorted out? They're all pandering to Eddie Hearn's needs. What do you think about that? Do you think Sam Jones is spineless?
I mean, that's a funny question. He came to a question he's spineless. I think Sam does what's best for his fighters and what's best for him, right?
Is that a diplomatic answer from you, Rico?
Yeah, but the thing about Sam is that he's not a boxing person, right? He's managed to worm his way into boxing. He's managed to build fighters and get them. He has no board license. Is he good at managing fighters? I don't know. I don't think he necessarily is.
Who cares?
Is he on every TV platform or every platform going all the time? So I think he skews. People think that good managers are the ones that are constantly on IFL and other things, but that's not good management.
You don't see Steve Goodwin on there or Steve Wood.
No, and you know what? I like Steve's and Martin's show, what they do, and Steve talks about management. You know, I've spoken to Steve quite a few times, and he's a nice, honest guy. He's one of those people that doesn't need the grief that boxing gives, but you know, he'll do stuff without taking credit for it. Look at what he did with Derek Chisora as an example. He got him back into pay-per-view.
I know, but come on.
Yeah, but look, he did a good job with Chisora. Right?
Yeah, but he's spent now. And Steve Goodwin did well with Chisora, but
that's what I mean. He's done a good job with lots of Frank Buglioni, right?
What about that guy lately who left Steve? He did well for him, didn't he?
Florian Marku.
There's another one. He's done well, Steve, but
Jones.
I think people are using Steve Goodwin as a stepping stone, mate.
They are, but that's just wrong, isn't it?
Of course it's wrong, mate. It's what's wrong with the sport of boxing. We have contracts for a reason, and these managers should tie people down. Don't take boxers' words for all this, my words made of oak. Because if the words were made of oak, there'd be an oak tree, wouldn't there?
I think a lot of them do have contracts, but for somebody like Steve, do you really want the hassle and the grief when you're running a financial business that comes with it? Like, you want to work with people that enjoy working with you. You know, he had a good relationship with Frank Buglioni for years. He had good relationships with lots of other boxers, done really well for them, Wadi Camacho and others. You get more joy out of working with people that want to work with you, and, you know, you build something together rather than somebody that's always looking to use you and looking for the next big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, then. Katie Taylor, Natasha Jonas.
Good fight. I favour Katie Taylor, but you know what? I hope that Natasha Jonas gets paid well, and again, you know, Joe Gallagher's delivered.
Chris Eubank, Marcus Morrison, mouth-watering.
I mean, look, I'll say it again. Joe Gallagher's delivered for Marcus Morrison, but it's not a fight really that intrigues me particularly. And also, what's Chris Eubank Jr. doing with his career?
I don't know. He just wants to be famous, doesn't he? I think. I don't think he's bothered about being a boxer, to be honest, because he's not fighting, is he?
I think he's bothered about being a boxer and recognition for boxing. But I think it's more a case that he only wants the big fights. Like, he doesn't want to fight against anybody. Now he's just taking a fight where Khaled's probably topping up his purse just to be active. But I don't really know where he goes with his career. He's not getting any younger. He's wasted a lot of time. I don't know what's happened to Roy Jones thing. Is he still working with Roy Jones?
I've heard Eubank asks for astronomical amounts of money. That's right.
I'm sure he does.
Did you see him having a fight with Billy Joey after Canelo beats Billy?
Probably not. I don't think he'd give him the satisfaction. I wouldn't be surprised if Eubank Jr. would have made much more money in his career than Billy Joe.
What about Chisora Parker? Does that get your juices flowing?
God, no. I mean, who wants to see Parker again?
It's a dog with fleas, isn't it, Rico?
Nobody wants to see Parker again. Chisora, I'm not too far. I don't mind seeing him. He comes to fight against Parker. I'm not interested.
Oh, Rocky's the old sea dog now, isn't he? He's 6 in 2 weeks. All right there, Rock. All right then. Craig Richards against Bivol.
I mean, that's going to be a one-sided fight, so Bivol's going to win. But Bivol's another guy that has been... He was one of the first people that Eddie Hearn signed from abroad when they started having those fights in Monaco, right?
Yeah.
But who has Bivol beat? They talk about his talent, they talk about his pedigree, but he hasn't actually fought against anyone half decent, has he?
Yeah. So who are you picking then? Chisora Parker?
You know what? I'll probably just pick Parker and work Ray. Nothing else.
Yeah. Bivol Richards.
I mean, Bivol. Stopping him.
Taylor Jonas.
Sadly, I'll probably pick Katie Taylor because I don't think Jonas could win on points.
You're not going to get a decision against that lot, is she?
No.
Who's the other one?
I just want Natasha to be paid well.
Oh, other one. There's another one, isn't there? Oh, Eubank, Morrison. You got Eubank.
Yeah. I'm sure you're picking the same ones as me.
Probably, but I always go against the grain, don't I?
I think we want Natasha Jonas to win, frankly.
Of course we do, man. She's a lovely lass. She's really well spoken in front of the camera. She's a really warm person, and I hope she wins. And if she don't, I hope she gets a career in media because she's nailed on for it, mate. She's a natural.
She's much better than most of the dross, whether that's Anna Woolhouse or Kate Abdo, others that are on there.
Yeah. Dillian White, Povetkin. Who you got?
Told you earlier, it's going to be White.
All right, then. Fabio Wardley, Molina.
Wardley. I mean, Molina, if he's not on the Peds, what chance does he have?
The Cheeseman, 25-year-old talking like Riddick Bowe. Ted Cheeseman, Metcalf. Who you got?
We got Metcalf.
What about Beefy fighting that? Who is it in Russia?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Begins to be empty.
It's going to be hard to win in Russia on points. So I just think it's a bad choice for him to fight out there. I know people want to be active, but this is where careers get ruined, right?
Yeah.
People end up taking fights they don't have to take, try and get a quick buck and be active, and that's going to cost them their career. If Beefy loses out in Russia, what then?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think we're out of time, Rico. What time is it?
Just after 6.
Yeah, we've had a good blast, haven't we? Do you want this on YouTube or do you want it on members? YouTube's.
Let's keep the members happy. I'll do a YouTube one soon, all right?
We'll do a YouTube one soon. We'll put this on members now. We're going to put it on YouTube, but they get spoiled enough. They've had over 20 on there already this month, and we've got a week left, so we'll we'll try and even it up a bit and look after members because they're paying out the pocket, aren't they?
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Thank you for paying.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's $5.99 a month. It all helps. We put the money back into production. We're going to do helmets bit special this month. I'm going to go out and film it with somebody, so it's going to be a bit different this month. It's going to be.
How's Chris Smedley?
It's going to be all right. He's all right. We'll not mention about that tomorrow, but yeah, he's going to be okay. Chris is all right. He's got his gym. He's got a lovely gym.
Yeah, I saw that on the video. Send him my best.
I will.
Top guy, Smedley.
What I'm going to do with helmets, I'm thinking it's going to be only one video per month that the members are going to get to see the helmets before everybody else for a couple of days, and then I'm going to put it on free one. So they'll get probably get 10 plus helmets or 9 plus helmets. We'll see. We're running out of dates.
To be a member.
Yeah, you get to see helmets before everybody else, and then they can spread the gospel about it. But yeah, it's we've got a good little following now, and like I said, who would have thought just being honest and you can achieve something, I suppose, isn't it?
Going against the grain. I mean, that's the thing. People actually want people to give honest opinions.
Well,
whether people agree or don't agree with your opinion, my opinion, Terry's or whoever's opinion, at least you gain a different, honest perspective, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate, wholeheartedly. Okie dokie. All right, then. Well, listen, you have a great Wednesday evening, Rico. What you got planned for tonight?
Nothing. Just watch TV and have some dinner.
I'm going to watch that Carlos Monzon thing on Netflix. Have you seen it?
No? I'll probably give you a watch.
Series 1. I've just found it on Netflix. I'm going to watch that tonight and see what that's like. It's really good.
Have you watched the Frank Bruno one on Sky yet?
No, what's he done now?
No, there's a Frank Bruno documentary about his life and career. What about him and Tyson?
Oh, see, Frank's making a living. He's like Joe Egan, isn't he? He's making a living out of knowing Mike Tyson. I like Frank Bruno, actually. He's quite funny. I remember when he was walking around Hornchurch, Essex, in a pair of flip-flops and nothing else on. And nobody'd pull up and tell him. Arrested, didn't he?
Yeah.
Walking around in his birthday suit with a pair of size 14 flip-flops on. But
I mean, his mental health has been in tatters, hasn't it, over the years?
Yeah, that's what happens when you shove beak up your conch every day.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people.
And I also think what Frank, fame doesn't suit some people, right? Some people aren't built for the public eye. And that's the thing about boxing. Some people are just happy to box and being silent and, do their thing. Sometimes, we give criticism to Joshua Buatsi for not being out there doing anything, but clearly being in front of the camera and talking about what he does isn't his thing.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, my friend.
Froch was the same, right? Froch didn't enjoy being on IFL or anything else.
Don't like it. He does now. In fact, he don't do many interviews, does he, Carl? Does he? He's not interview friendly.
To an extent, right?
To an extent, yeah. I think he's a good pundit. He's like the Roy Keane, isn't he, of boxing?
Well, he's honest.
He's honest. They'll never get rid of him there, will they? I don't think they need him. But I don't know. I mean, people are going above and beyond. It's like an arse licking paradise, isn't it? It's like I mentioned it in a video earlier. Eddie Hearn's like a human centipede anyway. Everybody hanging out at back of him, all the little legs, Colwell, Bellew, Macklin, Bean, Nelson, Spencer Oliver, all the legs are hanging out at back of him, Sam Jones, Steffi Bull. And there's all these legs hanging out at back of Eddie as he's trying to walk up road, and you're looking and you're like, that's a human centipede. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
But it is what it is. So listen.
How many messages for Christmas do you reckon it gets? Do you reckon it's like a competition when it's Christmas Day, when it hits 0001, straight away one from Steffi Bull. Happy Christmas, mate. Hope you and the family are well.
Steffi Bull, right? Do you know how he hangs himself every day? He knows he's doing it, but he can't help himself because they need that reassurance all the time. People who are unsure about themselves, they need that pat on back all the time. So people send me his screenshots of his tweet. I look at it and I read it. I show it to somebody and I say, look at that. And they'll go, why is he doing that? Why is he saying, fair enough, he's involved with Max Hughes, but why is he saying Eddie gives the contract for Max Hughes because he hasn't got a deal with anybody at the moment? Yeah. Why can't he say, all you promoters out there, Max Hughes is here, look how well he's doing. Come on, let's have a contract. but he had to tag Eddie in, didn't he? Because he wants to hitch his anchor up with Eddie. But what that does then, it insults all the other promoters who are jostling for position. But he's tying his anchor with Eddie. Colwell, Bellew, Dylan White, Joshua, Sam Jones, they're all doing the same thing. But they need to remember this. And remember this, you lot. When Eddie goes, and he will go, because when the numbers don't add up, they'll go. You're all going to be very vulnerable. And there's people in box.
Everyone's going to be crawling to
like
Frank, can't they?
Well, they'll have to pack in, won't they? Because they won't be able to go crawling to Frank and other people because they won't be accepted. So always leave a bit of bird in the back, and always leave a bit of bread in the bird's mouth. But they can't because they're obsessed by working with one person that they're forgetting that they're insulting other people when they do these things. And I hear things all the time, and people say, look at that, and I go, they can't see what they're doing. But it is what it is. They might not look at it like that. They're single-minded. Look, what these people need is 6 months in prison, padded up with Purple Aki and Denzel Showers from Manchester. That would sort them out, wouldn't it?
And on that note.
All right,
mate.
Yeah.
Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Nice to have Rico on. I want to thank everybody for liking and subscribing and leaving a comment. I don't know if you can share these member videos. I don't know. I'm not very good on tech side of it. But I want to thank you wholeheartedly for being members of the channel. It means a lot to me. So we're learning on jobs still. 3.5 years down the line. Big shout out to my good pal, Frank from Bury, and Dave and Rami in Sheffield. Peace out.
You like that one, didn't you? Right, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for liking and subscribing. It means a lot to me because we're on this journey together, aren't we? So anybody got any ideas for the channel, fire them over to me. porkycorner@mail.com. All right. Shout out to Innovation Alloys and South Yorkshire Packaging. All right. Don't forget to subscribe. Keep on trucking.